I always thought Christmas would be the time we looked back and smiled. For most of my adult life, it had been that way. Warm lights, hot cocoa, the smell of pine in the living room, our kids tearing through wrapping paper as my wife, Emily, laughed in the background. That was our rhythm, our tradition, and I loved it. This year, though, something felt different from the very start. It was little things at first. Emily's smiles didn't last as long. Her eyes lingered too long on her phone. She was quieter, less present. I chalked it up to holiday stress. After all, planning Christmas for 2 kids, hosting her parents, buying gifts, it was a lot. But in the back of my mind, something itched, something I couldn't quite name. I ignored it. I pushed it down, like most men do. I had no reason not to trust her. We'd been married for 12 years. We met in college. She was this smart, driven girl with a shy laugh and the kindest eyes I'd ever seen. She taught me how to be a better man, a better father. I owe a lot of who I am to her. So I told myself, you're overthinking it. Don't ruin Christmas with stupid doubts. December 23rd was when the cracks started to show. We were in the kitchen late that night, wrapping presents after the kids went to bed. She got a text, her phone buzzed on the table, and I happened to glance at the screen. The name was Mark. I didn't know a Mark, not from her work, not from our friends, but I said nothing. She grabbed the phone quickly, almost too quickly, and mumbled something about work stuff. Then she changed the subject, asked if we had enough ribbon for the gifts. That night, lying in bed next to her, I stared at the ceiling while she scrolled through her phone under the blanket, the screen lighting up her face in pale blue. I turned away. I told myself it was nothing. Christmas Eve arrived with its usual magic. The kids were bouncing off the walls, counting down hours until Santa arrived. We had dinner with her family. Her mom made that weird fruit salad she always insists everyone tries, and Emily laughed, smiled, acted completely normal. Too normal. I noticed how she'd step away to the hallway to check her phone. 3 times. Each time she came back with a slightly different face, more distant, distracted. Then came the moment that broke me. It was late, the kids were asleep, her parents had gone upstairs to bed. I stayed behind to clean up and Emily went to take a shower. She left her phone on the counter. I shouldn't have done it. I know that. I crossed a line, but something inside me said, you have to know. I picked up the phone. It was unlocked. I went straight to the messages. There he was, Mark. The most recent message, I wish you were here with me tonight, watching that fire burn just like in the cabin. Cabin? My heart dropped. I scrolled up, and there it was. Weeks, no, months of messages. Late-night talks, little flirty texts at first, then pictures. Her in that green sweater I remember from our fall weekend trip. Words like, miss you, and you make me feel alive again. I saw my name once. She told him I had checked out years ago, that I didn't see her anymore, that she only saw the mom, not the woman. She told him he loved the way he listened to her, the way he made her feel wanted. There were details, sickening details about a business trip she took in November. She hadn't gone alone. Mark had been with her. They'd rented a cabin. She told me the hotel was overbooked, and she ended up staying in a smaller inn nearby. That was the lie she gave me. That was the night they lit that fire. I stood there, holding her phone like it burned in my hand. I didn't cry, not at first. I didn't shout. I didn't even move. I just stood still. Minutes passed before I realized the shower had stopped. She was coming back. I put the phone down exactly where it was and walked to the living room. I sat in the dark, next to the Christmas tree. All those twinkling lights suddenly looked cold. Plastic, fake, just like everything else. Emily walked in a few minutes later, drying her hair. She looked surprised to see me awake. She asked, "You okay?" I looked at her, really looked. The woman I married was standing there in a robe coat, pretending nothing was wrong. She still had the same eyes, the same voice, but something inside her had changed. Or maybe it had always been this way, and I was too blind to see it. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. She sat down on the couch next to me, crossed her legs, and smiled softly. "Merry Christmas, babe." That's when the tears came. Silent, hot. I looked at her through them, and she knew. She knew I knew. She froze, and for the first time in my life, I saw fear in her eyes.
She didn't say anything for a few seconds. She just stared at me, her eyes wide, her breath caught halfway through her chest. I wiped my face quickly, trying not to fall apart in front of her, but it was no use. I was shaking. My voice cracked when I finally said, "How long?" That was all I managed, just those 2 words, and they came out like they hurt, because they did. Emily opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. She closed it again, swallowed, and whispered, "It wasn't supposed to happen like this." I laughed. It was a dry, bitter sound I barely recognized. So it was happening? She looked down, and in that moment I felt something break inside me. She didn't even try to lie. She didn't say no. She didn't say it was just messages. She didn't try to spin it. She just sat there, defeated. I stood up, paced the living room. The lights from the tree cast shadows across the wall. Everything looked like a dream I couldn't wake up from. "Who is he?" I asked. My voice was louder now. "Where did you meet him?" She was quiet for a moment. "Work. He's in marketing. We met during a campaign back in July." "July?" I turned to her. "You've been seeing him since July?" "It started as texts," she said quickly, like that made it better. "We didn't sleep together until October." My knees buckled, and I had to lean on the back of the couch. She kept talking like if she explained it enough, maybe I'd understand. "You were always working late. You stopped noticing me. I felt like I was invisible in this house, with the kids, the bills, everything. I felt like I was just surviving." I stared at her. "So you found someone who made you feel seen?" She nodded slowly, ashamed. "It wasn't about him. It was about me. I felt alive again. I felt wanted." I covered my face with both hands. I didn't want to hear this. Not now, not tonight, not on Christmas Eve when our kids were asleep upstairs dreaming about Santa. "Did you love him?" I asked, voice barely above a whisper. She didn't answer. That was my answer. I sat back down on the couch, suddenly exhausted. My entire body felt heavy. "Why didn't you just tell me? Why didn't you ask for space or a break or a divorce?" "Because I didn't want to lose this," she said, tears finally filling her eyes. "The house, the kids, you. I thought I could manage it, that it would end eventually, that it wouldn't matter in the long run." "You thought it wouldn't matter?" I repeated. "Sleeping with another man and lying to me for months wouldn't matter?" She was crying now, silent, steady tears, but I felt numb, hollow, like someone had scooped my insides out and left just the shell behind. I looked at the stockings hanging over the fireplace, one for each of us, even one for the dog. My whole life had been wrapped in this idea of family, of us, and now I didn't even know it was real anymore. "Do the kids know?" I asked suddenly. "No, God no," she said quickly. "They have no idea. I was careful, I swear." I nodded slowly. "Yeah, you were careful. Until tonight." I stood up again. I need air. I grabbed my coat and stepped outside into the freezing night. Snow had started falling. It was so quiet, the kind of quiet that presses against your skin. I stood on the porch for a long time, staring at nothing, just breathing, just trying not to scream. Part of me wanted to walk away and never come back. Just leave. Get in the car and drive until the world felt small again. But then I thought about our daughter's face when she opened her gift earlier that day. The way our son hugged Emily after she gave him the video game he'd been dreaming of. And I felt torn in half. How do you hold a family together when the foundation's already broken? How do you smile tomorrow morning and pretend everything's fine? I stood out there until my fingers went numb. When I came back inside, Emily was still sitting there on the couch, her hands in her lap, eyes red and swollen. I sat down, not next to her, but across the room. We'll open presents with the kids. We'll smile. We'll give them this one last Christmas. But after that, I don't know. She nodded, said nothing. I think we both knew something ended that night. And maybe it had been ending for a long time. But now there was no more pretending anymore. No more holiday lights bright enough to cover the cracks. Just two people. sitting in the ruins of what used to be everything.
That night, I didn't sleep. I lay on the couch in the den with a blanket that barely kept out the cold, staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet hum of the house. Upstairs, I could hear occasional creaks, our son turning in his bed, maybe Emily crying softly behind the door. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face from earlier, that frozen look when I caught her in the lie, and then the way her lips trembled when she admitted it. My mind kept replaying it like a broken record. Around 4:30 a.m., I got up, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table in the dark. The lights from the Christmas tree still glowed in the living room, casting gentle shadows across the floor. It should have been peaceful. It should have felt like one of those quiet, magical holiday mornings. But instead, everything felt hollow, like the soul had been scraped out of our home. I sat there for almost an hour, holding the coffee mug, feeling the warmth in my hands, but nothing else. At 6 a.m., the kids woke up, their excited whispers coming down the stairs. I forced a smile, told them to wait while I turned on the lights and got the camera ready. Emily came down a few minutes later. Her eyes were swollen, but she had done her makeup, barely, just enough to hide the damage. We exchanged a glance, nothing else. I picked up the camera and hit record, capturing our son ripping open wrapping paper and yelling with joy, our daughter gasping when she saw the pink bike she'd been dreaming of. Emily sat next to them, playing her part, laughing, hugging them, thanking them for the handmade cards they'd drawn. And me, I just kept the camera steady. I smiled when I needed to. I nodded when they showed me gifts. But my head wasn't there. I was floating above it all, detached from this version of life that had become performance. After the presents, after breakfast, after the sugar rush started wearing off, Emily asked if we could talk privately. I didn't want to, but I nodded. We went to the garage, where it was cold and smelt like cardboard boxes and winter dust. "I want to be honest with you," she said, completely. No more lies. I crossed my arms. "It's a little late for that, don't you think?" She flinched, but nodded. I ended it with him. A few weeks ago, before Thanksgiving. I didn't say anything. It was stupid. It wasn't love, not really. It was just something I used to escape. I've hated myself every day since. I wanted to tell you, I really did, but I was afraid of exactly this. You should have been, because now everything's poisoned. Every memory, every moment. I don't even know if I believe anything you say anymore. She looked down at the floor. "I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to know I never stopped loving you, even when I was screwing everything up." I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I had built a life with, the mother of my children. And I saw the guilt etched into her face, the fear, the shame. But I also saw that part of her, the same part I had fallen in love with years ago, still there, buried under all the wreckage. "I can't make any promises," I said finally. "Not yet. Maybe not ever." She nodded. "I understand. But we have kids, and I'm not going to let this destroy them. Neither will I," she said quietly. I left the garage and went outside for another walk. The snow was deeper now. The sky was still gray, but the cold didn't bite as hard anymore. Maybe I was just numb. Maybe something inside me had shut off. But I kept walking. Around the block, past the neighbors' decorated porches and snow-covered lawns. I kept thinking, how many people were smiling in their homes today while hiding heartbreak behind closed doors? How many families were pretending like everything was fine just for one more day? I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know if this story ends in reconciliation or divorce. I don't know if I'll ever look at Emily the same way again. But what I do know is this. Something broke inside me on Christmas Eve, and whatever I decide to do next, it won't be out of anger or revenge. It'll be for me, for my peace, for my healing. Because after all the lies, all the pain, all the quiet moments filled with too many unsaid words, what I need most now is truth. Even if it hurts, especially if it hurts.
It's been 4 months since that Christmas Eve,
I didn't plan on posting this, honestly. I thought I'd keep everything to myself and just try to survive it. But reading some of the comments on the last posts, people who went through similar things, people who told me I wasn't crazy for how I felt, it reminded me that even in something as private and painful as betrayal, we're not as alone as we think. So I figured I'd give an update. After the holidays, I took 2 weeks off work. I stayed with my brother for a while. I needed space. I needed to breathe without feeling like every room in the house was a memory landmine. Emily and I agreed to take it day by day. I didn't file for divorce immediately. I didn't want to make a decision out of anger. And more importantly, I didn't want to make a decision for anyone else. Not for the kids, not for her. For once, I needed to make the right decision for me. We did a lot of talking. Some of it was painful as hell. Some of it ended with one of us walking out of the room, slamming doors, crying. But it was honest. For the first time in years, maybe, we talked about what was really going on. Not just the affair. Everything. The years of going through the motions. The slow loss of connection. The nights we sat next to each other in bed without touching, both silently wondering if this was it. She admitted that she'd felt like she was disappearing in the role of wife and mother, that she resented me sometimes, that she made herself feel wanted again by someone who shouldn't have been part of our life. It didn't excuse what she did, but it explained a few things. As for me, I realized I hadn't been as present as I thought I was. I provided, I worked, I played with the kids, I was a good guy. But somewhere along the way, I stopped showing up emotionally. I coasted. I assumed the routine was enough. It wasn't. We started going to therapy, separate at first, then together. It was messy. There were sessions where I said things I never thought I'd say to her. There were sessions where I sat in silence, clenching my jaw, trying not to cry in front of a stranger. But week after week, the weight got a little lighter. Do I trust her again? Not completely. Not yet. But something has shifted. I see her trying. I see her showing up every single day, not just for the kids, but for me, for us. And I'm trying to. I've let go of some of the anger. Not all of it, but enough to start healing. We've gone on dates again. Sometimes they feel forced. Sometimes they feel like we're in our 20s again. Last weekend, we went out for Thai food, and she laughed so hard at something I said that she almost spit water out of her nose. And in that moment, just for a second, it felt like maybe we could find our way back. But here's the truth. It's not the same marriage anymore. It's something different. And maybe that's okay. Maybe what we had to fall apart so we could decide, really decide, if we still wanted to be in it. And for now, we do. We're still living together. The kids are doing well. They don't know everything, of course, but they know Mom and Dad are working through stuff. And they see us hugging again. They see us talking more. They see us trying. And honestly, that's all I ever wanted. For them to see what love really means. Not perfection, but effort. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Still healing, still unsure some days, but I'm not broken anymore. Not bitter, just honest. With myself, with her, with life. And to everyone who commented, who messaged, who just read and made me feel like I wasn't crazy, thank you. You have no idea how much that meant to me during the darkest part of this. Seriously, thank you. Whatever you're going through, take your time. Don't let anyone rush your healing. You deserve peace. You deserve clarity. And you deserve to choose your next step for you. Take care of yourselves and hug your people a little tighter today.